But let me tell you something. Again, I think one of the big issues we have with I agree with you. We need to do something. I can't tell you what it is we need to do. I mean, we can look at different options, but it's really challenging where we are now. And I'll give you an example. One of the key things for me is that we have come to accept contradictions as a way of life.
How?
In terms of politics. So I'll give you an example, right? If you look at ancient history, for example, right? If you look at let's take the Roman Catholic Church initially, right? They preached piety and the non-accumulation of wealth, while they were one of the
richest institutions in the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you go to the Third Reich under Hitler, right? They preached the ideal Aryan state. Tall, blonde, blue eyes. Yeah. But when you look at the leadership of the Nazi party, none of them look like that. But they preached it to people that is what it should look like. And that is what the future looks like, right? Even though some of them had limps, some of them had deformities, but they preached it, right? Contradictions.
Yeah.
And that kind of has worked. Even if you look currently at some of the politicians, say, for example, let's take the US, right? Let's take a very popular politician without mentioning names, right?
Yeah.
The evangelicals are strongly behind a political heavyweight in the US who has been convicted of basically sexually assaulting women. Right? Now, let's come down to Africa, right? Recently, the president of South Africa, right?
Yeah.
Went on a peace mission to Ukraine to ask the Ukrainians to give up their land. But he is the president of a country that fought to get their land from the white settlers.
Okay.
But then he goes to another country asking them to accept what the South Africans will not accept themselves, right? When you look at some of the coups in Africa, right? Some of the people who celebrated the coupists and said democracy has not worked, and some of these leaders have been sit-tight for too long, are themselves citizens of countries where the leaders have been there for 40 years plus.
Yeah.
Take Cameroon, for example.
Yeah.
Right? And they say, well, you know, we should not have leaders that are just sitting there for years.
Yes.
So it's okay for them to be overthrown if they are not performing. But then they have president that is senile. I mean, basically, you know. And you can go on and on and on. I gave you an example earlier of an African president being celebrated as being the epitome of leadership when he's actually part of the problem in another African country, as even said by the leader of the DRC. The president of the DRC has categorically said that part of the problem they have is Rwanda. This is not secret, right? So when you now begin to accept contradictions as a norm, it becomes difficult to rationalize and make changes because logic goes out of the door. And that is part of our challenge now.
Okay.
You cannot hold people accountable if
it's difficult.
if you accept contradictions.
So
right?
So let's